Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm looking at my top 5 Super Bowl sleepers for the upcoming 2021 to 2022 NFL season. But before getting to that topic, question for those of you viewing. We typically do a fact-based question, but today I'm asking you guys an opinionated question that has to do with a fight. Two players, because of the two teams I'll be talking about, or two of the 5 teams I'll be talking about today. Joey Bosa and J.J. Watt, guy from the Chargers, guy from the Cardinals, both two teams I'll talk about today. Who wins that fight, Joey Bosa or J.J. Watt? They're pretty comparable in size, but I want to know who you think wins. Comment that down below. But in all seriousness, getting into this topic, I'll be looking at 5 teams. A couple teams I won't be talking about because they're Super Bowl contenders. They're going to be a playoff team. They were a playoff team last year, so on and so forth. They're pretty much, I don't want to say a powerhouse, but no one is sleeping on them. That includes the Bucs, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Packers, the Niners, Rams getting Matt Stafford. You got the Seahawks, the Browns, like them a lot this year, and then the Ravens as well. But those are the teams I will not be including because they're just extremely dominant. A couple of honorable mentions that were close to making the cut of my sleepers, but not just yet because I want to see how they do in the NFL draft, are the Denver Broncos, Miami Dolphins, and Dallas Cowboys. I need to see what they do in the NFL draft before saying they're a Super Bowl sleeper. I think they have potential, but they are not there yet for my sleepers. In no particular order is this list. And at number 5, I'm combining 2 teams at the 5th spot. So you guys are kind of getting 6 Super Bowl sleepers if you want to look at it that way. But at number 5, I'm looking at the Giants and Washington. And the reason I'm combining those two is because we damn well know only one team is coming out of that division and heading to the playoffs, in my opinion, at least. But both of these teams, outside of that quarterback position, is stacked to the full potential, and that is why they are a Super Bowl team. However, we don't know how far Daniel Jones, starting for the Giants, or Ryan Fitzpatrick can take them. But looking at that lineups, Daniel Jones and his offense now has Kenny Golladay, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Kyle Rudolph, Evan Ingram. They added John Ross as a deep threat. That is a stacked receiving core, and you're going to get your top 3 running back as well. Overall, that offense is stout, and the defense is pretty good as well. You re-sign Leonard Williams to create that pass rush for a relatively long-term deal, and then that secondary, adding Adoree Jackson to accompany Jabril Peppers, James Bradbury. That secondary is going to take off now, and really, it might be one of the best in the NFL. Logan Ryan as well. Everything on that Giants team is pretty stacked. The secondary, like I said, the pass rush is now settled. The receiving core is stacked. Kenny Golladay is your number 1 guy. Great duo in Slayton and Shepard. You got a reliable tight end, whoever you want to look at, Ingram or Rudolph, and then John Ross. He's not going to be the most consistent. He might get hurt, but he might be due for 2 to 6 touchdowns on a burn route that could get a DB. We know John Ross has that speed, but can Daniel Jones take them to the Super Bowl? We don't know. I'm not counting him out completely, but we need to see it this year. Is he your guy or not? And I think he could step up. I mean, you see, he's 2 years in. He's still young, but you see guys go from year 2 to year 3 and make a big jump. I mean, look at Josh Allen. In year 2, yeah, they made the playoffs, but they went from getting bounced out of the playoffs in the first round to Josh Allen now taking the Bills to the AFC Championship and becoming a MVP conversationalist. So it's not unheard of for a guy to take a huge jump in his career from year 2 to year 3. And looking at the Washington football team, similar aspect. The offense is pretty stout. You got in the receiving core, Terry McLaurin. You added Curtis Samuel, just as big of an addition as Kenny Golladay, arguably. You got Cam and Steven Sims. You got Logan Thomas. You got a good rookie running back, Antonio Gibson. You franchise tag Brandon Scherf, so your offense is set. And then on defense, we know how good that is with their captain, just a rookie as their captain, and Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and they added William Jackson, one of the top corners in the league, to their secondary to help replace Ronald Darby. Not only did they replace him, they replaced him with someone who was better. So now you got William Jackson leading that secondary with Landon Collins and Kendall Fuller. So overall, both of these teams have, tier 1 offenses and defenses on paper outside of the quarterback position, but who's going to be the guy to come out that division? Daniel Jones, Ryan Fitzpatrick, to lead their team, and whoever it is, they got their shit together. If they pulled off a 10-6 season, I seriously think they could be a Super Bowl threat, but I have to see more. Can Ryan Fitzpatrick cut down the interceptions? Can Daniel Jones cut down the fumbles? Can these guys step up and to go take their team to the promised land? It's not like they don't have the team to do it. They would be the only ones holding themselves back. Moving to number 4, again, in no particular order of ranking these guys, but number 4, Arizona Cardinals. You can make the argument that they're not really a sleeper. They started 5-2 last year. Yeah, they finished 8-8, but we know they have the talent to become a playoff team. Super Bowl, that's a whole different story, and that is why they're a sleeper to me. And the similar situation to Daniel Jones, you're going to see a similar pattern throughout all these teams. It's going to come down to whether or not their quarterback can step up and, be the guy that everyone is hoping and expecting him to be. But outside of Kyler Murray, who I'm not saying I don't believe in, you signed A.J. Green to help out that receiving core. When DeAndre Hopkins is getting double teamed, now you got A.J. Green on the other side of the field. One-on-one matchup, and if he is even half of the guy that he used to be, he's going to win that matchup any day of the week. And if he becomes the guy he used to be, you might have A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins get double-teamed, and then you got Christian Kirk with his great speed in the slot to open things up as well. But even on the other side of the football, you signed J.J. Watt to help out Chandler Jones. You got Jordan Hicks and Isaiah Simmons holding down the linebacker duo, and you have Budda Baker leading that secondary. You did lose Patrick Peterson, and that does hurt, but you signed Malcolm Butler. I don't think that's an exact replacement. I definitely think Patrick Peterson is better than Malcolm Butler. But one thing Malcolm Butler does provide for this Cardinals teams is his experience. Not to say Patrick Peterson doesn't have plenty of experience, but Malcolm Butler's deep playoff Super Bowl experience, that is one thing Peterson does not have. Butler's been to the Super Bowl. He's been to the playoffs several times. He knows, I'm not saying he can lead that secondary and lead a team, but he knows what he's dealing with when he's in the playoffs. He's not going to crack under pressure. He will be the same guy, and that is something the Cardinals could use. So I think overall with the great additions of J.J. Watt, Malcolm Butler, and A.J. Green, a couple of those are wild card plays that could be risky and not be. They could not turn and pan out to what we want them to be, but overall, even if they hit two out of three of those signings, I think they'll do well, and I think this team is ready to go win a bunch of games. They did lose Kenyon Drake, but they still have Chase Edmonds. I think he will suit the starting job just well. They're perfectly fine for the Cardinals, but overall, same thing for Kyler Murray. Can he take a jump like Josh Allen did from year 2 to year 3? And I think Kyler Murray is much better than Daniel Jones, and we don't need to see as drastic as a jump that we do need to see from Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. But Kyler Murray, he has to be a little bit better, and now he has the weapons to do it. Like I said, you got Christian Kirk, you got A.J. Green, you have DeAndre Hopkins. Who knows? Old man Larry Fitzgerald might be coming back. No announcement has been set in stone on his retirement, so we will see. But overall, this is a sleeper because they're in the toughest division in the NFL, in the NFC West, dealing with Russell Wilson, a healthy 49ers, and a Matt Stafford Rams. It won't be easy, but that is why they're a sleeper, because I feel like they're kind of pushed down to the bottom of that division and not looked at, but really they are just as tough as the other 3 teams they are dealing with. Number 3, Los Angeles Chargers. This is the only team out of my entire list that really isn't like quarterback desperate, I guess. I don't want to say desperate, but the quarterback position is not a big question mark of whether or not they can step up and do it. Justin Herbert, he set all kinds of rookie records, and he, out of all the youngest starting QBs in the NFL, you have the best one if you're the Los Angeles Chargers, so you're set there. But outside of him, there are a couple of open spots, a couple of blanks, a couple of gaps, a couple of holes that the Chargers really need to fill. They did work on that offensive line, adding Corey Lindsey. He's obviously the biggest piece to that offensive line, and I think they'll even work on it more in the NFL draft at the 13th overall pick. Maybe looking at Elijah Vera Tucker, Rashawn Slater if you get lucky. Overall, I'm not worried about the offensive line. Chargers know they need to fix that, and they already started. Receiving core, not the greatest in the NFL, but it's definitely Justin Herbert can make it work. You got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, 2 huge and pretty good wideouts. You got Jared Cook as a great red zone target. And even Austin Eckler out of the backfield can catch the ball pretty damn well from Justin Herbert. He will be healthy. And then on the defense, you got to get, Chris Harris Jr., Derwin James, and Michael Davis holding down the secondary. Even that position on the football field, I think they'll work on in the pass rush, Joey Bosa. So overall, the foundation is there for the Chargers, but they do need to add a little bit more. Kenneth Murray's holding down the linebacker position, but they have $30 million left in cap space, and I don't think they are done. Therefore, they are a sleeper because they didn't make the playoffs last year, and their quarterback is ready to win, but they need a little bit more help from Joey Bosa, and they need a little bit, stardom in the secondary. I like Derwin James when he's healthy. I like who Chris Harris used to be, and I like Michael Davis, but I need a number 1 guy that is consistent. Derwin James is hurt. Chris Harris is old. Michael Davis, I think he's a great corner, but he can't be the number 1 on your team. I need one more guy in that secondary, and I need one more guy to help out Joey Bosa, and I think they will fix that. They have $30 million left, and there's a good amount of free agency left and a good amount of offseason left. And I think this is a Super Bowl sleeper, and I got the Chargers probably going. You guys saw my other video. I got them going 11-5, fighting for the division, but no matter what, making a playoff spot. I think they are a Super Bowl threat team if they can execute everything and fill in those couple gaps. But even right now, on paper, this is a playoff roster that could be a dark horse Super Bowl team. Number 2, A lot of you guys might be fond of this team. A lot of you guys might be against it, especially if you're a Titans fans. But I got the Indianapolis Colts being a Super Bowl sleeper. To me, I am very bullish on Carson Wentz. I think him reuniting with Frank Reich, who was his offensive coordinator when he played with the Eagles and almost had his MVP season, will revamp Carson Wentz's career. He's got a new, motive. He's got a new set of goals, and he has a new love for the game of football now that he's in a new environment, and he's got a much better team and a coach that he is familiar with and loves. I think with the offensive line, that he is going to get, that is really going to be a blessing for Carson Wentz. He was probably one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league last year, and then he's going to the Colts, who have probably a top 5 offensive line. He's got probably the best trio set of running backs in the NFL between Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, and Marlon Mack. Yeah, there's some better duos out there, but trio running backs, that might be the best one in the NFL. In the receiving core, you got T.Y. Hill and you got reliable Jack Doyle. Michael Pittman Jr. is going to take a step forward. It's not the best receiving core by any means, but it's nothing worse than what he was dealing with in Philadelphia. And then on the other side of the football, he's got a top 5 defense to rely on in Taekwon Lewis, Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, Xavier Rhodes, and Kenny Moore holding down that defense. Not saying the Eagles' defense was garbage. They had Darius Slay and Fletcher Cox and Jalen Mills, but it's nothing like the Colts, who is a top 5, at worst, top 7 defense. This Colts team is going places. Carson Wentz, everything's going to be on him, though. I mean, just like the other teams, the Cardinals, the Giants, the Washington football team, can their quarterback take them there? They have the roster to do it, but can their most important position step up? And that is going to be Carson Wentz. Can he take this team to the Super Bowl? I think Frank Reich can revamp him, and I think he could be an MVP type of quarterback like he used to be. I think he has a good shot at winning comeback player of the year, but we will have to see. He has the weapons to do it. No more excuses for Carson Wentz. This is kind of his prove-it year. I think he's got a couple of years with the Colts, but right now, this is a big year. He needs to show that he can up and do it. Even though I have them being a Super Bowl sleeper, the Colts just want to see that he's the guy. They don't want to. They obviously want to win the Super Bowl, but they just want to know they can stick with Carson Wentz. He could get them to the playoffs. In the Super Bowl, of course, like I said, they want to win it. That is not their top. I guess it is their top priority, but really, their biggest concern is whether or not Carson Wentz is a bust or the guy he used to be, and that is where it's going to depend on all of it. I think they have the roster to do it for Carson Wentz. Can you take him there? Number 1, guys, a lot of you might not like this, but I'm not a fan of the team, but I'm a big fan of what they put together, and that is the New England Patriots. And yes, I know Cam Newton's dog shit. Say what you want. Yes, I get it. They won 7-9 last year. Cam had COVID. You had a defense that sat out, and yeah, I mean, the team just didn't play well. There wasn't hope, yet they still were one game below 500, and that's because of how well coached they are, Bill Belichick. And I think Josh McDaniels now, who has a quarterback who has the system under his belt for 1 year in Cam Newton, a running back and duo in Sony Michel and Damian Harris, a receiving core that is pretty damn good now. I mean, everyone's thinking, oh, Nelson Aguilar can't step up and be the number 1 guy. We know, really, he doesn't have to be. Edelman's there. They signed Kendrick Bourne. You got Jonnu Smith. You got Hunter Henry. Those are 5 pretty good receivers that no one really has to be a number 1 because they're all relatively good. I mean, no one's like top tier, number 1 at their position, but you have guys that are all mid-tier, and you have such a deep receiving core that is not needed. And Cam Newton has a bunch of safety blankets in Julian Edelman, Nelson Aguilar, and the 2 tight end threat is going to be serious in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, I believe it. And then looking at the defense, you got Dante Hightower and Kyle Van Noy kind of captaining that front 7. I think that was a really underrated new move, them bringing back Kyle Van Noy after he was released from the Dolphins. You got Devon Godshaw, you have Matt Judon, you got Stephon Gilmore, you got Jalen Mills. Overall, this defense is stacked, and the offense isn't top tier by any means, but I think under a year, or Cam Newton having a year under his belt, being with this offense and being used to Josh McDaniels and being used to Bill Belichick and not getting COVID and just being ready to win now, given the weapons he has, I think this team could seriously become a playoff team. I think they'll fight for the AFC East, in my opinion, and I think they could become a Super Bowl threat, in my opinion. I mean, just overall, this team doesn't have a lot of holes except at the quarterback position, and that's where all these guys lie out. The Giants, Daniel Jones, Washington with Fitzpatrick, the Colts with Carson Wentz, even the Cardinals with Kyler Murray. I think that's their guy, but can he become the guy that could take them to the Super Bowl? We don't know, and that's the same thing with Cam Newton. He doesn't have to be MVP Cam. He just can't be last year Cam. He has to be just even 50% of what he was his MVP year. I'm not asking for him to set all those records in 2015 and go 15-1. I think this is a team that could go 10-6, 11-5, and no one wants to play Bill Belichick in the playoffs. It's just how it is. I'm not saying they'll go to the Super Bowl, but to me, I think this is a team that'll make the playoffs, and once you're in the playoffs, you're automatically a Super Bowl contender. So, therefore, that is my 5 sleepers. Colts, Patriots, Cardinals, Chargers, then combining of the 2, Giants and Washington football team, because we know only one team is coming out of that division for sure. But comment down below what you guys think. I know a lot of you will disagree, but I truly think a lot of these teams are sleepers. Again, I'm not calling them Super Bowl winners or Super Bowl threats. They're sleepers. They're underrated teams that are overlooked, in my opinion. And I think they can make some noise and damage in the playoffs. So let me know what you think in the comments. And of course, who would win that fight, Joey Bosa or J.J. Watt? Today, it's hard for me to ever look down J.J. Watt and say he won't win a fight. But Joey Bosa is one of those guys I don't think can outmatch. I would have to go with Bosa in this one. But overall, thanks for watching, guys. 2-1 warning.